In this video, I want to look at combining logarithms. In the last video, I took a single logarithm and wrote it as a lot of logarithms, adding and subtracting. This time I want to take the sum or the difference of a bunch of logarithms and combine it all into one. And I'm going to use the same three rules I used in the last video, although this time I'm going to write them a little bit differently. The first one, log base a of m plus log base a of n is equal to log base a of mn. And I'm going to refer to this as rule 1. The second one, log base a of m minus log base a of n is equal to log base a of m over n. So if I'm adding two logarithms, I can multiply, and if I'm subtracting, I divide. I'm going to call this rule 2. And then finally, n times log base a of m is equal to log base a of m to the n. So if I have a number out front, I can move it up to a coefficient, and I'm going to call this rule 3. I want to start by using these rules to evaluate some things. Log base 4 of 2 plus log base 4 of 32. Well, since I'm adding here, my first rule says I could rewrite this as log base 4 of 2 times 32. Which is log base 4 of 64. If I set this equal to x, I have 4 to the x power is equal to 64, or x is equal to 3. So the value of this thing up here is 3. Log base 2 of 80 minus log base 2 of 5. This time I'm going to use my second rule, which says if I'm subtracting, I can take the log of and then divide these two, 80 over 5. Well, 80 over 5 is 16. That gives me 2 to the x power is equal to 16. So x is equal to 4, so the value of this thing up here that I started with is 4. I now want to do just some general logarithms and look at combining them. I'm going to start with rule 3, and most of the time I will start with rule 3. If I have numbers in front, we want to move those up to exponents. So this is log of x cubed plus log of a 1/2 power means a square root, so the square root of x plus 1. Since I'm adding here, I need to use my first rule, which says I can multiply. I can take log of x cubed times the square root of x plus 1. This time I have 3 ln s plus 1/2 ln t minus 4 ln of t squared plus 1. Once again, I'm going to start with rule 3. I want to move the exponents up. So I can write this as ln of s cubed plus ln of a 1/2 means a square root, so the square root of t, minus ln of, we move the 4 up, so we have t squared plus 1 to the 4th. As we read left to right, we see a plus sign here. So that tells me I need to use the first rule. I have ln of s cubed square root of t, since the first rule says I can multiply those, minus ln of t squared plus 1 to the 4th. Now that I have a subtraction, I can use my second rule, which says we would have a fraction, s cubed square root of t on the top, and the bottom, t squared plus 1 to the 4th.